Listen, I would still run if there was only one pair of shoes in the entire world. It was the only brand, only kind, and that's all we had access to. I would still run. I love running. That being said, shoes are such a fun part of running, and I've seen all the memes online of spending all this money you don't have on shoes and blah blah blah. And I think it's a really fun part. And part of it, what's fun about that is every time you try a new pair of shoes, it's like, oh, I wonder if this is going to be better or worse. There's risk involved, right? But it's kind of exciting to see like what you're going to run into and what you're going to find and when to use it. And so I was told this probably 5, 6 years ago when I was looking at shoes. I was at a running store, and what the guy explained to me was that like running shoes are like tools. What kind of project do you have? Because then you use the right tool for it, right? You need the hammer, the screwdriver, the glue, the whatever, right? And so that's been really fun to kind of look into more and more of like what kind of shoe is best for this specific type of workout I'm trying to get, right? Like an easy run, I need a good regular trainer, and with speed workout, a good speed shoe, or maybe a super shoe or a carbon plated shoe. Trails, obviously, depending on the terrain, you might get different types of traction and different, I don't know, just different everything, right? And so, as someone who runs a lot, I have spent thousands of dollars on running shoes over the last 6 years, and I found the things that work for me, and as new versions of them come out, sometimes you have to find a new one, or you discard the old one, or you find that new version is better, and so you stick with it. One big thing I started with was just this shitty pair of Saucony shoes that I don't know, I didn't know anything about shoes, and then I started to get into Hoka, and I finished my first 100-mile race in I think it was Clifton's, like Hoka Clifton's, like 4 or something. But well, I did like half the race in those, and then I switched to the Ultra Torrens, and I love the Torrens. Like they were my favorite shoe ever, more so than like speed workout shoes. And then when they came out with the 5, I think it didn't feel right. I didn't like it, and so I switched to what I'm running in now. And this is currently my favorite daily trainer that I use specifically for road miles. I do the Timps, Ultra Timps for trails, but right now I'm in the Ultra Paradigm. So this is a good, just regular trainer. I use this for pretty much all my easy runs, a lot of my long runs too. Especially depending on what I'm doing in the long run, I wear those. And I think I've gone through this would be my third pair over the last couple of years. And they last, roughly 200, 300 miles, 400, something like that. So I just go until basically they break, but they're super durable. They don't split at the seams. I've noticed that with some Ultra shoes, like the Timps, they kind of break easy or tear easy, and they still work fine, but like it just doesn't look as good, right? Like they look beat up. And I like the Paradigm. I should actually check. I think it's the Paradigm 4, something like that. I can't remember if it's 3 or 4, but 7. I was way off. Paradigm 7 is what it says right there. So Paradigm 7. But it's treated me super well. And here's one of the big reasons why I like this shoe. It's just the big toe box. Like it's really helped me like avoid blisters and stay away from just, I don't know, too much like rubbing like between my toes. Like one thing I've noticed with like other brands of shoes, and if Nike works for you, great, or if you love Hoka, great. Like I'm not here to fix something that's broken for you, but for me, those narrower toe boxes up front would always squeeze my toes together, and I get blisters on most of my toes, right? And so with something like the Ultra, Paradigm, the toe box is a lot wider, where like a lot of shoes kind of like curve more or pinch your toes together. And unfortunately, there's some Ultra shoes that are starting to kind of narrow themselves a little bit more. But when it has the wider toe box, that is super helpful for me in avoiding blisters, as well as using like toe socks. I love toe socks. That helps with blisters too. I think it's also just like cushioned very well. It's just a good amount where I can still feel the ground, but I feel like I have some support. And I've probably gone through, I don't know, like 100 miles in this pair, and it still feels like I'm, on a cloud. Like that whole saying of like feels like I'm walking on a cloud. So I'm a big fan of the Paradigms. If I am on trails, I'm using the Timps, and it kind of similar kind of comparison. It's just obviously more for the trail. So I think Ultra is great. I think it's better functionally. It works for me. It took me some time to get used to them. And unfortunately, I see people shit on Ultra where they're like, I started running in them and then I got an Achilles injury. And I think one of the things to note is if you're considering Ultra and you've been running in shoes with like 8mm drop or 6mm drop or a narrow toe box, you can't just like make that switch right away. You have to get used to it. It is a different style of shoe in a lot of ways. And so if you were to just like fully change over all your training, you run 40 miles a week and then you shift into a shoe like this, I don't think you're made for it yet. I walked around in barefoot shoes and would like alternate runs with Ultra and Hoka until I got completely used to and comfortable with Ultra. And I haven't ran in anything else for probably 3 years now. So if you've hurt yourself, like that's no fun, but a lot of it is expecting, like trying to switch over everything right away. I think there needs to be a transition period. And like the comparison I use is like if you've never squat before, you've never done a barbell squat, and I throw 300 pounds on the back of that bar, it's going to kill you, right? You can't even move that, right? And so you might have to start with the bar or 95 pounds or whatever it might be, or even goblet squats because you can't do a barbell squat yet. And so it's a very similar concept in my mind is when you just like go into this different style of shoe where there's no drop, wider toe box, a little bit more minimal compared to other shoes out there, depending on what you've worn. Of course, you're going to get hurt, right? Like you just haven't done the things to transition over into a different style of shoe. And so just be patient with it. But I do believe ultimately it's better. I haven't had shin splints since wearing Ultras. I rarely get blisters unless it's like a 50-mile, 100-mile race. It's like pretty hard to avoid that. And I just feel more comfortable in them. So hopefully that gives you something to think about. I like the Paradigms. I like Ultra in general. And unfortunately, the Torin kind of, I don't like it anymore. I know other people do, but the first like couple were way better than the ones now, in my opinion. But it is what it is. That's why I run in the Paradigm now. So if you like running content, my name's Reese. I am here to try and help people learn from my mistakes, maybe hit PRs. Overall, just enjoy the sport more. Running quite literally saved my life, and it's continued to save my life. And I hope it can do the same thing for other people if they need that or they just enjoy running. And it's a fun thing to do. It's good for us, right? So if you like that kind of stuff, that's what this channel is about. And I hope I get to see you in another video sometime soon. Peace.